I get it when you're scrolling through a sea of digital pianos. The cheap budget models scream good enough until you actually sit down and try to play a real piece. You end up with a keyboard that feels like a rubber keyboard on a cheap synth. The keys get sticky after a few months, and the sound just doesn't cut it when the audience is listening. That's the regret many of us have felt before we finally decided to look at something that actually respects the instrument. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. So the question is, does the Nord Grand 2 give you that smarter buy, or is it just another pricey piece that will sit idle in a closet? When I started researching stage keyboards, the biggest thing that kept me up at night was the balance between a truly expressive key feel and the practicality of a touring rig. The Nord Grand 2 touts a custom Kawai keybed, which, on paper, sounds like a promise of that piano-like response you need for nuanced performances. I dug into a handful of forum threads and video demos, and the consensus among serious players is that a weighted keybed from a reputable acoustic piano manufacturer is a game-changer for dynamic control. That matters whether you're a gigging jazz pianist trying to articulate a soft swing or a pop keyboardist needing that punchy attack on a synth lead. The keybed alone makes the Grand 2 feel less like a synth module and more like a genuine piano you can rely on night after night. But a keybed isn't the whole story. In a real gig, you often have to switch sounds on the fly, layer a piano with a pad, or add a synth arpeggio while your feet are busy with sustain and soft pedals. The Grand 2's dual piano/synth layering lets you stack a classic grand piano tone under any of the 120-voice polyphonic synth patches without having to dive into menus between songs. I tried that setup for a small house band gig, a piano bass for the verses, a bright synth pad for the chorus, and a quick switch to an electric piano on the bridge, all done with a single press on the optimized interface. No lag, no hunting for the right patch. That fluid workflow is the kind of hidden trade-off that separates a professional-grade stage instrument from a hobbyist's toy. Now, let's talk about the practical strengths that actually show up when you use the Grand 2 day in, day out. First, the 120-voice polyphony means you can hold chords, trigger sustain, and still layer multiple synth layers without the dreaded voice stealing that cheap keyboards suffer from. In a live setting, that translates to clean, uninterrupted sound even when you're playing dense chords with the sustain pedal held down. Second, the triple pedal configuration, damper, soft, sostenuto, mirrors what you'd find on an acoustic grand piano, so you don't have to relearn foot techniques. I found myself using the soft pedal on a ballad to gently pull back the piano's volume, something I never could do with a two-pedal synth board. On the flip side, the Grand 2 isn't without its practical weaknesses. The most noticeable is weight. At nearly 30 kilograms, it's solid enough to stay put on stage, but that also means you need a sturdy gig case and a couple of strong hands or a dolly to move it between venues. If you're a bedroom player who only needs a portable unit for occasional practice, that heft could be a real inconvenience. Another consideration is the learning curve of the interface. While the layout is optimized for performance, there are still several layers of menus for deeper sound editing. If you're used to a plug-and-play synth where you just turn a knob and go, you'll spend a few rehearsals getting comfortable with the Nord's deeper parameters. It's not a deal-breaker, but it's something to be aware of before you invest. Who should buy the Nord Grand 2? If you're a gigging musician, whether you play jazz clubs, weddings, or theater pits, and you need a keyboard that can deliver authentic piano feel while also serving as a versatile synth workhorse, this is the instrument that will save you from juggling multiple keyboards on stage. It's also a solid choice for studio players who want to record realistic piano parts without buying a separate acoustic piano and who appreciate the ability to blend synth textures directly under the piano tone. The price point reflects the high-end keybed, robust polyphony, and professional pedal set. So if you're budgeting for a full rig, the Grand 2 fits nicely into a serious setup. Who should skip it? If you're a casual player who mainly practices at home, a student looking for an affordable starter instrument, or someone who needs a lightweight travel keyboard for spontaneous sessions, the Grand 2 is likely overkill. There are lighter, less expensive options that still sound good for practice, and you won't miss the triple pedal or the deep layering capabilities unless you regularly perform live. Also, if you're primarily a synth-only player who never needs a weighted keybed, you might find more bang for